The NRL has announced the Dolphins will become the league's 17th team.
I think Cameron Munster, it's probably fair to say, is in that $1 million mark.
How close are you to bringing him to Redcliffe?
Well, a lot of that's speculation, but we're keen to have Cameron.
If there's a $500,000 difference, I'd be tempted to go.
Sounds like Storm hooker Brandon Smith has made up his mind to move to the Roosters.
Is Payne Haas worth $1 million a year?
Yes.
If I'm going to pay a player $1 million, he's winning you 60–70% of your games every week.
Kalyn Ponga has committed to the club, re-signing a new 5-year extension to stay until the end of 2027.
Money talks in rugby league, and the Sydney Morning Herald on the weekend just gone. A big spread from Michael Shemus, breaking down the salary cap situation in 2022. What have we learnt, Michael?
Yeah, just to explain to the people back home, the NRL sends a document out to all 16 clubs each year, which highlights how much the players earn per position. So the top 5 fullbacks, for example, they earn an average salary of $939,000. We also know the median of that top 5, or all the top 5 and 6 to 10. The median salary of a top 5 fullback is $987. So the third highest paid fullback is on that. So from those calculations, I think that Kalyn Ponga and James Tedesco, they're the top 2 paid players in that position, and Tom Trbojevic as well there at number 3. But Val Holmes got big money to play fullback, and Latrell Mitchell on decent coin as well. But some notable names not missing there, like Ryan Pappenhausen not in the top 5, but I imagine he'd be in the top 5.
Soon.
Yeah, well, how do you manage a salary cap is a question I want to ask you guys. Gus, you've had a lot of experience in this situation. Does any of this make a difference to the way you work an organisation, or do you base it off feel?
No, they've been putting these benchmark figures out for quite some time. I never really referred to them. Players are worth a different amount of money to different clubs at different times, depending where you are on the ladder, what you've got to do to entice them, whether it's got to be interstate, whether you're a lower place club trying to bring in new talent, whether you're a top place club that can win a premiership, and players will. So it gets a little bit distorted in what they do. If you want my philosophy on the management of a salary cap and where you're going to get most value out of your salary cap. And what I try to say is that if we sold all your players, you get $9.5 million, you've got 30 players to fill that ranks. When you sign up those 30 players, if you put them all on the market at market value, what would they be worth? So to give you a small example, last year I did the figures on the 2021 competition, halfway through the year. I took all 30 players at the Melbourne Storm. I gave them what I thought would be a market value. What would it cost to sign those 30 players at market value? And it was around about $13.8 million. Panthers were about 13.2. Rabbitohs were about 12.1. Roosters were about 10.3. All right, and then your lower teams, when you look at them at market value, were as low as 5.8, 5.9 million. So whilst both or all clubs are spending $9.5 million, there can be anything up to $6 or $7 million in value, at market value, current market value in your salary cap. To have a competitive football team, you need value in your salary cap. You need players that are performing beyond the money that you're paying them. You need players that are worth more at market value if they went on the market than what you're currently costing. The makeup of your salary cap is really important too, because you've got prop forwards, you've got edges, you've got lock forwards, you've got utility players who can play a little bit of everything else. You've got your halves, you've got your outside backs, your specialist centres, your specialist wingers, your fellas who can play centre wing, your fellas who can play left or right. Then you've got your winger fullbacks, and then you've got your fullback, and then you've got another player that you're going to have in the team. You've got to fill in your 30 positions, and you've got to have 4 players at minimum wage of $85,000. You've got to have, you can't then sign anyone under $110,000, so you've got 4 players at minimum of $110,000 after that. My belief is that the bottom 8 or 10 positions on your roster should be somewhere down around minimum wage, which means you've got a hell of a lot more to spend on your top 20, which is where you're going to be competitive from a premiership viewpoint. What you then need to do is balance in what positions you rate as important. So I personally have a salary cap model that I've worked to in each position, how much I'd like to spend on each position, and the breakup of how that money is spent in each position: an international class player, a representative class player, an emerging representative class player, a journeyman, an older, a younger fella on the way up, and how you gravitate through those. And there are all sorts of models of those that will look at it, but it's been proven time and time and time and time again. You need to have value in your salary cap. The players that you've signed need to be worth a lot more than you're paying them at market value, and then you're in a position to win a competition.
Gal, seeing those figures for all those positions in particular there, did you learn anything from that? Is there any particular position you feel is unders?
I've got to say probably wingers these days. I feel like wingers are probably more important than centres these days. They got to catch the bombs, obviously, on the wing, but they do so much work coming out of trouble. So, yeah, maybe the wingers, obviously the hookers is a little bit surprising.
I was a bit surprised.
Yeah, hookers is a bit surprising, but I think the hookers, I think if you had added Cameron Smith's wage back in there a year or two ago, I think it might have really upped the average there. I think it's more of a reflection of the younger these days. They're just getting started along. Like
Harry Grant's a classic example.
Harry Grant's only getting started. Smith's getting started. I think if you look at their contract next year or in the next couple of years, I think you'll find it going up. Abby Coruscant, Blake Brothers, another one. I think if you look at his contract in the next couple of years. Josh Hodgson's probably the highest one there, and he's probably the oldest one. So I'd say his contract to Parramatta may be coming back a little bit in next year. But Damien Cook's the other one. He's coming to the back end of his career. But I think Harry Grant, Brandon Smith, they're very, very young guys. Blake Brayley are very, very young. So I think if you look at their hookers maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, it may bump up a little bit.
Well, I'll do you a little exercise. Market value right now. You're CEO. If you want to buy a player, how much would you pay for Harry Grant right now?
Much more than the 550s.
Yeah. 8.59.
8.59. How much would you pay for Brandon Smith?
Do your best in 30 seconds here, Gus.
650. 650.
You won't get him for 650. Anyway, all right, we'll call it 650. What would you pay for Jerome Hughes?
850.
Yeah,
850. You're not getting him for 850, I'll guarantee. But anyway, we'll do that there. Cameron Munster.
1.1 million. 1.1.
1.1 million. And Ryan Pappenhausen.
1.1
million. So there's 2.2, there's 3.05, there's 3,675. So there's $4.5 to $5 million in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players.
Good luck with the rest.
Right, call it $5 million. Right, for those 5 players. Close to $5 million. So you've got 25 players to fit into $4.5 million. Yep. At the back of your roster.